Hello, I'm Erica.
And I'm Taliesin.
And this is Gather Your Adulting! So tonight we've gathered some of our favorite adults. Keep it together, everyone, please.
Sorry.
We have gathered some of our favorite adults here to tell you things that we wish that we had all known when we were your age. Whatever age that may
And
be.
if the surveys that everyone filled out is correct, our audience is mostly between the age of 14 to 147, mostly lives on Pluto, and is apparently very upset that it's no longer a planet.
And this is very important advice that we have for you tonight. We'll be discussing things like sewing or how taxes, building your own business.
Getting dressed up.
Yes, flirting respectfully and effectively. We have had a lot of requests for that on Twitter. So get ready, everybody. Some real advice coming to you. Let's meet some of the adults that we brought with us. Why, look at that. It's Darren DePaul.
Oh, God.
It's here.
Hi, kids. It's me, your internet
We're going to widen it up.
Darren, probably the oldest person on this panel, and surprised to be here. But you're on the other show. Why don't you just hang around? You're old.
We're pretty much any time that we can bamboozle him into being on a show, we'll be like, well, why don't you just stay for the next one?
Well, we also had his card toast. That makes it a lot easier.
Delighted. I'm very excited to talk about this subject because I think part of it is also keeping that child that you were always alive.
And that's something that important that we did want to cover was the idea of adulthood being just a different concept for us than it was for our parents.
It's not being a grown-up necessarily. There's being an adult and being a grown-up, and the word adulting has become very popular. And I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions that people I talk to have about what they should be expected to be able to deal with in this reality.
Sure.
And like the things that you should know versus the things that you don't really need to know, and the things that you have to rely on other people for. Versus the things that people have to be able to rely on you for.
It's true, and expectations of yourself and society's expectations of you, and how sometimes those don't matter at all, really.
Competency is not an excuse for imagination.
Wow. Well, I'm going to jump in and ask since this is sort of a dinner party, did you guys look forward to being an adult?
There's a point in your life when I think you do, but I think it only happens when it happens. Because I think you always don't want to be an adult until you're an adult. You're like, oh, I'm appreciating being an adult right now. But there's a transition.
I got excited once I realized that I didn't have to be, not that I adore and love my parents, but I don't have to be them. And that was a great revelation.
I think I loved a lot of the freedoms that being an adult brought to the table, and realizing that, kind of like you said, is the restrictions that are also brought, that the way you have to live your life is also much more a matter of choice than the structure that is imposed upon you or ways you're told you have to be as an adult.
I honestly didn't think I'd make it. Honestly, like I remember when I look back onto when I was in preschool and stuff, and they're like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get there. Like, I don't know why. I just never expected it. I just figured I'd be that way forever.
The amount of animals who have injured me alone, like I should have.
I'm struck by lightning.
That's kind of dark, I guess.
No, I was super invested in my youth, and I was not. I was not of the opinion I was going to make it this far. I was like, I'm doing too many dumb things.
I think it's because older people that are older than us kept telling us, well, eventually you'll grow out of whatever it is you're doing.
Right, and I was like, well, that's never going to happen.
My boss told me not to name my horse after a Star Wars character because that was just a fad. Like, you're not going to like that when you're an adult. Take that. My horse's name was Echo.
Yeah, and so
what that means.
And I feel like a lot of us too decided that we would make adulthood what we want it to be. Like I have a Nerf wall and a ball pit and everything. And I still pay my taxes and everything. So
you can still get stuff done, and that doesn't.
Boy, you get a lot done.
I do.
You are so productive.
So productive.
Oh, thank you.
It's funny because I looked forward to doing adult things, but maybe not necessarily being an adult.
Yeah.
And it came with a whole slew of like insecurities of like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I'm an adult now, I need to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
And then like you just get it done, and then you go back to playing video games. Or whatever.
You step under the crushing weight of not getting it done.
Exactly.
So in typical modern fashion, we got distracted from things. I'm like, no, that's okay. okay. That's the thing about being an adult. It is how you. Yeah, it's conversation is what you make of it. Yes. But why don't you all introduce yourselves? All of you adults.
Well, just for the sake of you know, what is
that?
Left to right, or my right to left. My name is Ivan Van Norman. I have been adult for almost 33 years. I am currently raising a tiny thing as well too.
Gosh.
That is. I know it's a whole different set of
That is like an achievement unlocked adulthood sort of a thing.
Being a parent with a relatively newer child, I had the fear of like, oh my God, my life is going to end when I have a kid. Not true. It changes your life absolutely, but it does not end your life. So I've appreciated that.
Good.
I also had the interesting one random thing is I had the weird insightfulness of being able to look up to my parents as being like perfect adults, because we all looked up to our parents, even if we done later in our life. But at one point, we all looked up to our parents. Now I feel like I've surpassed the adulting, in which, in a weird way, there's still things I glean from my parents, but in a weird way, I'm helping her with her business strategies now, and that feels weird. But, you know, it's fine. I'm Ivan. Hello.
Well, the student becomes the master. I'm Ivan. I'm Michelle Chubby Bunny. You may know me from the internet. I am an adult because I took all my stupid little hobbies that everyone made fun of me for when I was a kid, and now I do almost all of them professionally. I have several shows about anime, about video games. I own 3 businesses. I do consulting.
High five, girl.
Yeah, I do marketing consulting. I do social media consulting. I also do event coordination, and I do I have licensed products with Hello Kitty. So I'm usually like getting supplies for that, and then running to my manufacturer, and like doing accounting, and then running to a studio to shoot a show, and then. You know, then I have to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym. It's just a lot of adulting. Just a lot
listening to you.
I know.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm Vince Casso. I have to follow that. Hi, I'm Vince Casso. I became an adult tonight.
Listen, I'm not surprised.
No, but yeah, honestly, I mean, I'm 26. You know, I haven't been in that zone for a really long time, and kind of just coasted into it because I'm not really sure where the line was, where I'm like, oh, I guess I'm an adult now. But I'm an actor and writer. I've been doing that since I was about 13, so I'm definitely in the industry that I love, and have been having a good time sort of building a life and figuring out what it means to be an adult in this modern day as I do so.
You do cool things to make sure you get to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You do cool things, Vince, to make sure you get to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I do other stuff in the background that's weird and different.
That's very adulting.
What is that? What are you talking about?
Like,
I work for the government or something, probably. I don't know.
He's a spy.
That's true, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm out of it now. All right.
Well,
that was a good career, well lasting.
Yeah.
I started tonight. This was my first op.
Well, I'm Lauren, and I'm not a spy.
That's what a spy would say.
Yeah. People caught me. Never said I was good at it.
Adulting tip number 1: you don't have to be good at it.
Yeah, super true though. I went through kind of an interesting adulting because I grew up. Kind of always knowing what I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to work in the movies. I wasn't quite sure where. I landed in the prop department. I love it. I adored it. I worked super hard at it, and then I got an autoimmune disease.
Oh no.
And couldn't do it anymore. And so I was suddenly left with this like, well, what do you do when you can't do the thing you love? You find something else that you love. And so I started a business. I started Merchant Green Leather Works, which some of you in chat will know about. Yeah. And I do that now. And I probably work the same amount of hours, but just like a lot less people yelling at me.
Sure.
Which helps. Which helps a lot. But yeah, and like it's true though. Like once you start that business, like you just keep kind of starting them. So We've got some other things, right? Like the first one, like you're super nervous about.
Yes.
You're super, and then it's like kids. Like the first one, you're like, oh, and the second one, you're like, whatever, just call it fart knock. I don't care. Like, just get the Aussie.
Yeah.
I'm just getting EINs and like bulk discounts.
Yes. And you're that first LegalZoom packet. You're like, oh, you keep everything really perfect.
Never use LegalZoom ever again.
Never
because
again.
I actually have real counsel now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there will be.
That's how you know. Like you learn. Like you learn.
LegalZoom's way too expensive for what you get.
Also,
never pay for an EIN. Oh my God, never pay for an EIN.
Oh my God.
This is the Geek and Sundry content that I was
I ran an advertising company for 5 years. And I did business consulting for 5 years in advertising, so I learned all of this. There it is. There's my background stuff.
Found it. It was in you all along.
We will definitely get into that because that is the amount of business stuff that we can do. I think we've all had a little bit of hand in business.
EIN is an employee identification number.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a thing you need for tax.
It's a thing I got this year.
What I like to call it, it's the social.
I'm sorry, employee ID number. Yeah.
It's the social security number for your business.
Yeah.
It's a tax ID.
It's corporations for people, my friend. Unfortunately, is what it kind of boils down.
And you get a little pill that they send you. You put it in a cup of water in your bathroom, and then it slowly inflates into a cup. That's also a sponge.
That's why.
That's why you're eating like a bird for like the last 3 weeks.
You know when you poop purple, you're not supposed to.
Yes.
Xander.
Yeah, I am Xander Genre. You might see me around the channel on We're Alive Frontier or Sagas of Sundry or Shield of Tomorrow. But also, I own 2 businesses, one since 2012, which is Zan Media. Again, I just had to think of a name.
You have to just.
But that's my freelance business, so that's what I do during the day, and I do Japanese translation, graphic design, web design, and things like that. And then the Library Bards. Hey! 2 businesses. But that one, I'm a co-CEO with Bonnie Gordon.
Yep. That's
so
the
going
way to
in
go.
with a partner.
Partners.
S corp.
Yeah.
S corp.
Yeah, but so that's my business background, and I guess I'm an adult. They let me do things.
Hi, I'm Greg Chun. My S Corp has a much less creative name. It's Greg Chun Inc.
Nice, dude.
Hey, the ink makes you fancy.
Totally. And I'm a voice actor and a music producer, and the whole adult thing, like whether you really are or not, I mean, I don't know. A lot of creative people, I don't think in our hearts we're ever really going to be adults the way that, with everything that comes with. But we have to function as adults. Like we have to function in society, unless you're just gonna melt into a puddle and just lose everything you have. And so, like, in order to survive, there are things we have to do. And for a long time, I was doing just as much as I needed to sort of get by. And I guess there was a pivoting point maybe a couple years ago where I started taking a little bit more control over things and not trusting everything my accountant told me, not trusting everything that some other person told me. And I guess maybe that's some kind of turning the corner to where you're steering your own ship a little bit more. Because it's easy to continue, after your parents, you can continue to rely on the advice of whomever.
Sure.
And I think you just get burned enough times realizing this person doesn't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And so...
But practical experience.
Exactly.
A really great phrase that you can tell yourself is, "Man, fuck that guy." And
Man, fuck that person.
Like,
it's a different show.
You can be, like you can always be kind and nice, but you do not have to listen to. You don't have to listen to us.
Totally.
But if I may swing the pendulum the other way,
absolutely.
When you don't know what you're doing, seek advice.
Yes.
Thank you for passing that. That was
Never
great.
try to make an opportunity out of something when you don't stumble into it without research.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
internet is there, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to ask this because I had this epiphany when I was younger, at a particularly strange age, because I had a very weird reality growing up.
Right, because we started working very early.
My first memory is I'm working.
Right, yeah. Same, because I did the whole child acting thing as well. So for as long as I can remember, I have been sort of a business of some sort, or had to maintain a brand.
And my parents.
That's another thing we're all going to get into.
Oh.
Branding. Know
That's
your
the fun
brand,
stuff.
no matter who you are.
Oh man, and I remember as a child, I mean, relating to my grandparents, who I thought really had their shit together. Although there's definitely some debate about that now.
Right? That's a discovery.
And my parents, who I thought didn't,
we realize
but probably
other
did.
adults don't necessarily know everything thing as well.
When did you, like, what around was the age when you suddenly discovered that an enormous number of adults had no idea what was happening?
It was because of Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Me too! Wait, what? I thought we were going a whole other direction with that.
So I am a very lucky human in that I have a great relationship with my parents and my grandparents and everything like that. Because they've always tried to take an interest in my life, even when they don't understand what it is. So I really love Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Like, who doesn't? God, it's the best. And so my grandmother came in to our house one day, and she was so excited. She's like, "I'm gonna go take you to see the Rescue Rangers movie," and I was like, how did I not know there was a movie?
I didn't know there
and
was
it was The Rescuers.
The Rescuers.
Oh! And it was the first moment I remember going, okay, she is wrong. She loves me. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. Yeah. So like, and I just remember that moment of like, she absolutely has no idea what she's talking about, but it doesn't matter in this moment. And then of course there were many other, like, another didn't hit me that until later, until we got into like church things and religions and stuff like that. But that was that first kind of moment of like, oh,
that's a lot.
They can be super wrong, but it's okay. In that instance, sometimes.
I was expecting to like Pokemon up. Like, we didn't have those yet, but like eventually I'm gonna wake up a foot taller and knowing all these things.
Right.
And I thought so too. Yeah. It was gonna happen one day. Like, oh, I'm that now.
I never dwelt on my adulthood ever. Like, as I said, like, I didn't really think I'd get there when I was younger, and I was just always happy being the age that I was, and I never was like, I want to grow up, or I don't want to grow up. I just was.
I had a similar experience. I was literally living a week ahead of myself for years, where it was like, I only cared about what's happening next week, and then only cared about what's happening next week. So a lot of my poor financial choices and a lot of my difficult non-adulting was essentially done because I had only the short sight of looking like, oh, well, I'll worry about that next week, kind of a situation. And then at some point, I started thinking beyond a week, and that's when planning started to happen, mostly out of necessity. But, it can get caught in because we have so much, bright, flashy, dancy things in our life all the time. It can be pretty easy to just latch onto the moment. So,
well, it's interesting. Like, I think in sort of a logistical, financial business arena, I did something more in sort of the emotional realm where I just worried so much about whether somebody liked me. Like, I did a lot of that when I was young. And the thing is, it's not like don't be a dick. Don't just be like, I don't care what people think at all.
Adulting tip number 3.
Don't be a dick. But I feel like having that awareness of how you are, having that awareness and developing awareness of how you're interacting with somebody and what they're possibly feeling and thinking is very valuable. Just don't let it crush you,
And, empathy is stage one for me. Is like the moment, and like you read about children, and one of the things that like the big development thing about with children is that they don't understand that there's an external world for a very long time, and they have no sense of it. I don't think it's so like
they don't understand empathy.
Yeah, there's no empathy. There's no cause and effect.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
Daddy, go away. Mommy, go away. Baby, watch Color Trucks.
I want that on a t-shirt.
Oh my God.
But I mean, like, this is a thing. Empathy is a skill you have to develop, and if you're not careful, you can often get caught in the trap of worrying what people think of you, and if they like you is empathy, and it's not. And that's this weird,
interesting thing. External awareness and caring about what people think about you and balancing it.
Honestly, I think that was, now that you mention it, the moment where, as I began to realize that that's what made me into kind of an adult. When I realized there are so many times where I got to put myself aside, and there's other stuff I got to take care of. There's other greater responsibilities. Other people have their own lives, their own feelings, and there's actually a whole sort of network of life around me that I also have to be able to manage.
I like that you swill with
experience growing up, because like I always knew I was going to leave my small town. Like because I actually have been kind of thinking about talking all this. Like I never necessarily wanted to be an adult. I wanted what was next.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care as much about high school, except that I did everything I could do to get a scholarship so I could get out. You know, that sort of thing. Not that it was terrible or horrible, and I have fond memories of growing up, but I just knew I wasn't going to be a Goodlettsville for the rest of my life. And I had to just sort of, do what I could to get out of that.
Was that the name of the town?
Goodlettsville.
Goodlettsville.
Come see the good in Goodlettsville. It's so quaint.
I spent a week trying to find the origin of podunk, and it was driving me nuts. It's in Connecticut, I think, is what I finally.
I do have a question for everybody in this room because all of you are successful at the things that you do. So you're all like.
As we all throw the compliment away.
We all eat a meal every day.
You all have a roof over your heads, and you're eating square meals, and you're getting to do, to a certain extent, like the thing that you want to do with your life.
That's true. Like we're all actually
right. So the question is about, people always ask about chasing your aspirations. Like, what was kind of the first big or major step, or the step that you're like, I'm so glad that I did that?
Holy moly.
Oh.
Yeah, you looked like you had something.
Well, because I was being the adult. You're like, we're hosting a party. Letting people talk. Well, I was advanced in school. I skipped grades because I was one of those kids. And there was always a spotlight on me, so I guess I don't really remember when the moment was. It was always just destined. They're like, oh, you're going to be doing this. I went to private school, and we always wore uniforms, and I did plays there. I did plays at my sister's all-girls Catholic school, and it was always, oh, well, that's Darren. He's a professional. And then when I did plays, they go, who's the teacher? And I was in high school, so I was always an adult. And growing up in the 60s and 70s, I mean, I think it was something that we aspired to be sophisticated, to have dinner parties and have wonderful conversations, which I miss. I love that, sitting around like this and just hearing. I love people's ideas. And I think that's something that, as a child, as an adult, that you can latch on to, is seeing people and sharing their stories and going, oh, I love that, I love this, that. I guess it's just who you are, being confident in who you are.
Yeah, and I had an opportunity at some point. I actually thought one of the things that I learned later, but let me pull back on that. There was a situation in which I was trying to learn something throughout my whole life, but I need to find a way to apply it. So I started a small business while I was doing all the grind work that you do when you live in LA. And I was trying to apply all of my grind work, whether that was like working at a post-production suite or working in an events hall or whatever it is. But I would take all that knowledge that I learned from failing at those jobs and I'd apply them into my small business. Just kind of letting that be hopefully the small part that grows while everything bless you.
A bad manager is the best lesson.
Yeah.
It's the worst, but you come out of it knowing what you do not do.
Fired is one of the best things that can ever happen, especially early in your life. You know,
absolutely.
So,
has everybody here been fired?
So many times. So many times.
Only once. I already quit.
I've been fired once.
Yeah, it was enough.
And I think the moment when I made that first choice was when I basically said, we're gonna print my first book. I was like, okay, we're gonna take a loan out to print my first book.
Yeah.
Right,
know?
the business loan.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren was saying the other day.
You've all done it, right? I've done it.
I paid off my first one in January. It was my last payment on one.
Wow.
And I refinanced the other, so it's a little bit lower.
My credit was so bad I couldn't have even gotten a loan until I was like 36.
Yeah, student loans messed up my credit. Even
Never went to college.
Here's a good tip. If any of you are out there are parents, if you have a reasonable child, open a credit card for them in their name as soon as they can.
Yeah.
My parents did one for me when I was 16. It was the emergency card, but that meant I went into adulthood when I was 21 and applied for my first credit card. I already had 6 years. Is that I don't math. Yeah. But I had 6 years of almost perfect credit that just really helped. And it's like you don't even have to give it to them. Just open it up in their name and have it sit there.
However,
I had the same thing.
don't open it with you and your sister.
Right.
Yes, it teaches you to be an adult again when you have to pay everything. When your younger sister does not
My parents did that to me.
do what she does.
I lived in Japan for 3 years, and while I was away, they used the card that was for emergencies on both our names, but it's under my name. So I came home, like I basically kind of ignored it because I wasn't using the card. And I moved back to America and was like going through my finances, and I was like, why do I owe $10,000?
Oh my God!
You know what I did with my savings? I paid it off like that month.
Wow. That's what you gotta do. That's what you do.
Yeah. But I think like for me, the big turning point, we're just talking about like doing the grind and stuff. When I moved, I lived in Japan for a couple years. I moved to LA for a job. It was to be an editor of a magazine. It was really fun for about 3 months, and then the publishing industry collapsed because that was 2008.
Oh, yeah.
So I moved to like back to America.
We graduated and during the crash.
Writer's strike.
I moved to LA, writer's strike.
Yeah, same for me.
I was walking outside of Fox for 5 days.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I worked in a mailroom for 2 years because of that damn writer's strike.
Yep.
Yeah.
I moved to San Francisco because of it. Yeah.
But basically, like, I was kind of employed and not employed for almost a whole year, and just being like, I shouldn't even be here. Like, this is, I'm not even supposed to be in this town. Like, I should just move back to wherever, or just move back to Japan or wherever.
So LA.
And then I like got like my mentor, my friend Jamie, who runs a store called Japan LA, Donna Maros. She like basically like was like, girl, let's have some talks. And I was like, what do you want to do? Like, you don't worry about someone hiring you and you finding a job that fits you. Make your job. Like, do your figure out what you want to do and just make that happen. Not like with The Secret or whatever, but like, okay, make a plan. Make an Excel sheet.
Whatever works.
Intention is key, though. Because you do need that emotional. It's that emotional anchor that drives you through from point A to point B.
It was poverty for me.
Yeah.
But I made it out.
I mean, that'll do it.
I made it out.
Like, eating is important.
Well, eating is awesome.
You have to
great.
really be
You
passionate
gotta do
about
it every day.
I've definitely. I'll admit, I've lived in my car. I have moved back in with my parents 3 times.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I have worked as a carny.
That's crazy that you have that in your list of failures.
No, it's not. See, that's the thing is it's not failures.
No. So
learning.
talking about the writer's strike,
Yeah.
I was working for a lad, which if you know the Ladd family, like one brother ran Fox for a while, one brother like, so I was in it. I was like in the Hollywood thing, and the writer's strike happened, and like he went into rehab, and like all this like just like exploded, and so I went, and this is so weird. I lived on my college roommate's passed away's dead grandmother's floor for a while. She wasn't in the. She wasn't still there. So like I lived on couch cushions. Like you live on couch cushions. I worked for Apple. I was a concierge at an Apple store, guys. I was professionally yelled at.
God, yeah, everybody like you work these jobs that you guys have
but
done.
when I worked for Apple, I learned Photoshop. Like they had free classes for your whatever.
Just because you gotta take advantage of it.
You gotta take advantage
of the
of it.
situation.
Yeah. I worked for a dye house as like a checkout girl, but they let me have free dye. I learned how to dye things.
And on again, the point that reminds me of the lowest I feel like I was is handing out free Nutri-Grain bars on Venice Beach for like an hourly rate.
I flyered it in front of clubs in Hollywood.
Right, booth bathing for sure. That's still not the worst thing that I've done.
It's true. I definitely agree.
I wore a costume in Japan and gave out flyers and free samples of food in Japan.
In Japan?
Tokyo.
Because they will hire you, because if you're living there, you don't have like a working visa, so they will just hire you for cash.
I did so much. I did stuff for Brutus magazine. Oh man, we'll get
The
deep.
lesson in this is that no matter what kind of situation you're in, you can always make the best out of it. It's when you've resigned to how crappy it is that you start to go into that spiral of I'm never going to get out of this. But if you try to,
thing is, I think one of the most humbling jobs I ever had is when things were getting really bad. And I was already working as an actor and all that at the time, but it was just a rough couple of years. And so I was just cleaning apartments. That's all that I could do, and I had to make a living just cleaning apartments. But I could have easily sat back and been like, holy crap, this is what I'm doing. This is horrible. But I would do that for, 8 to 10 to 12 hours in a day, but then I'd go back and still be working on everything else that I had going on with every other available second. Yeah. And before long, I opened up another company and was able to stop doing that within the year.
Right.
The other thing to remember is like, you're like, I think for a lot of us people, we do find identity in our job, but for a lot of people they don't.
I don't.
I have a really good friend who is, she's a bank teller, and she doesn't like the job, but it pays her well, and it lets her do her cosplay hobby, and that's the thing she cares about.
It's figuring out your priorities.
It's figuring out your priorities. It's like, okay, what's the thing I need to do? Can I make money off of it? No. Can I find something to make money so that I can do it? Yeah. golden.
Yeah, I guess there is a term for it. It's like there are people who live to work, and there are people who work to live.
Yeah.
And and that is absolutely a personality-based thing. No one is bad for wanting to work to live.
I quite envy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Another thing is that at parties, and especially in LA, the question is like, oh, like, what's your name? Oh, what do you do? And I have completely cut that question out of my. I don't ask it anymore because I ask like, what do you enjoy doing? Because for some people, it's not their job, and it's really not that important.
But like, you want to know what they're about, you know?
Yeah. What are you about?
An alternate opening, if you ever want to use this, is to say, what are you passionate about?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
How about mine? Do you like anime?
That's all that matters.
Or it's one of these. It's like, do you know what this is?
Why do you have those in your vest?
Yeah, what is going on?
Water deep right now.
It would be weird if Ivan did not have meeples in his
That's
pocket.
fair.
That's true.
Always have something fancy in your pocket.
Yes.
Always have something.
Hey, that's really hard to do when you're wearing a dress with no pocket.
Which is why we need more dresses with
More dresses,
Right.
Or just if it's not in your pocket, in your car.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have my phone in my bra.
And it's so funny because like we wanted to talk about like specific pieces of life advice, but I think all of this is really good, just general advice on how to think and just like a good cross section of how to just be happy. Just being happy is really important in this life, no matter what you're doing.
My big three was lose your shame about shit going wrong. Like, I don't always do it well, but sometimes.
It's the getting up.
And be like, okay, I'm back at my dad's house and I'm living in the back house, but that's cool because I'm using this as like I'm just getting my shit together for the next whatever thing is going to happen. Don't understand and respect luck.
Yes.
Right.
So that when bad luck happens, you realize that it's bad luck, and when
It's
good
not
luck,
always your fault.
Oh, anytime, and like, oh God, have you ever had this happen as an actor, where like someone says like, oh wow, you must be really talented, and like, yeah, I'm also really lucky, and they're like, don't say lucky, and you're like, do you not understand how this? I know 15 people who are more talented than I am. I was just standing in the right place. My God. Yeah, I mean, like, you have to be able to do it, but
balance that with knowing your worth, though, at the same time.
But respect the chaos of the
I
world.
will say that finding what I found a couple years ago, at my age, it was good to find it at that age instead of being younger.
Sure.
Having a wonderful third act coming as an adult, and all of a sudden everyone going, oh, we get what you do. After years on Broadway, people going, oh yeah, and then no. Now, all this world of yes, I know how to deal with it, but I also do that thing of it's luck. I don't know what happened, but I was in the right place. The right people believed in me, and that, there's a lot of that to be said.
Well, but there was an element of luck. I mean, there's so
An
much
element.
more
Yeah.
I had two.
about who you are, what your journey led you to a
can
place
be
where you were ready
accentuated.
to capitalize on that lucky opportunity.
You have to be prepared to take that ticket when it comes around. But it's so dangerous. I mean, like, and this is a dangerous thing that you can get into the mindset of if you're not careful.
Well, being in the right place in the right time doesn't mean anything in
No,
life.
is that you
Unless
can meet people who are successful who think they're successful because of necessarily just who they are, or people who think they're failures because of just who they are, and being able to go,
Right.
And a lot of times people break down luck based on opportunity and preparation. So
Rob Paulson
luck is all about
told me.
opportunity
He
and
said
preparation.
success is where luck meets preparation. And I think that's just like the perfect bumble of like what
when the opportunity comes, you have to be ready.
You have to be prepared, but you have to have the opportunity as well.
Kind of regarded as like a jerk, he is, but he said something really great, which was I'm paraphrasing here, is like, I don't have talent, I work. Anyone can be anything. This is effort. I'm really heavily paraphrasing here, but it's like, I don't have talent, I have work.
Time, effort, and energy. Time, effort, and energy. Do a lot of things.
Yeah, but man, I feel like I was the same person 5 years ago that I am now, except I was eating.
Well, your hair's blue.
Except I'm eating very different meals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, can we do a little detour really quickly into health and nutrition and working out? Because
Taco Bell
oh my
3
God.
times a day.
Oh, so yeah, no, seriously, last year, almost exactly a year ago, I started working out and eating right. And like, I know that a lot of it's a matter of like having resources and time and money in order to, like have a personal trainer or like watch what I eat and like buy the right ingredients for foods. But but at the same time, it is such a life hack. If somebody had told me when I was younger that I'd have more energy, I'd feel better about myself, I'd feel better about life, like I would just like literally my chemicals would be more balanced. Like I would have started at least doing a little bit every day a long time ago.
I literally gave myself a disease with stress and poor eating, and like I can't eat things now because when I get really stressed, my body just attacks itself because I thought I was dealing with stress because I was getting everything done. That is not, that's not the indicator.
Checking off the checklist. The problem with checklists is that there's always another check.
So I didn't know how to healthily deal with the fact that, like, you know, I love the job, but the stress of it was getting to me, and I thought I was doing well with it because I was getting it done, and that is a factor. But it's not the factor.
I have a similar story where I think this was in, I want to say 2012 or 2013. I gave myself shingles from stress. Huh. I wasn't. I was eating well. I was working. I work out like 4 or 5 days a week in the morning. Yeah. I have a pretty like regular schedule. Yeah. But I thought I was getting everything done. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, wow, my skin's all crazy. And I went to the doctor and they're like, how old are you? And I'm like,
oh no.
They're like, this is like old people get this. And I was like, great, I think I'm dying. And then after that,
it took me internally bleeding to be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's curable, y'all. But basically, I from that moment on, I did a lot more self-care. So definitely physical exercise and stuff, but stuff like, you know, meditation, doing yoga, doing things that are relaxing on purpose.
There's also making time for yoga was a fad for a while, because yoga, when you do it regularly and you do it well and it works for you, does just body and mind.
I think everybody should be doing yoga. Like, I'm not kidding. I think everyone should be doing yoga, especially past the age of like 35. Like you'll save your back. If you fall, you won't just like break shit. Like it really saves you.
I want to tell a story about Erica while we're on this subject. Okay. Yes, please. So we were. So we were taking a class together, right? Yeah. And everyone's having a good time. You know, you're sitting there, the instructors are saying what they're saying, people are taking the information in. We're all sitting in this room, and all of a sudden Erica just like busts out this stretching routine. Like everybody else is just sitting completely still, and she's like doing these poses and has her arm over her head. Don't you remember this?
I don't remember it.
You don't remember? And in the second room, later in the course, when we were in that second room, the mocap room, they were like lecturing and stuff like that. She's just like, okay, stretching time. And just,
wait, when was this?
This was like last year.
I don't remember doing that. Oh my God, is it unconscious now?
The point that but I mean the point that I'm making is that's commitment.
Yeah.
Right.
You're in a situation. It's like, hey, I've got 5 minutes here where I can get away with this.
But that's the thing, is that it's true. I have found that like you can squeeze things in when you can. Like if you have a busy life and you're like, oh, I don't have time for that. Like if you're at a desk and you're doing a desk job, there's always time if you have 5 minutes to do stretches or something, definitely do that.
That's what it comes down to, because for most people, for most people, it's a matter of time. Like especially if you work a day job, if you have a busy schedule, if you live this sort of the ordinary life like that, it's a matter of time. And for me, like I'm lucky in that I'm freelance and I'm able to make the time to train just excessively all the time. And so, but if whatever time you can put into on a daily basis, even small stuff like that, even a half hour at the end of the day, get it up a little bit earlier, anything you can do, you are absolutely rewarding yourself for that. Like you will feel so much better, and you are reaping the reward simply by doing it.
Right,
even
and
if
same
it's 10
with
o'clock
food.
So irritated at how true that is.
Like, talking about food, I have had, I used to be in catering. I had a bad relationship with food.
You were in catering?
I was, man.
Word.
Yeah. I have had so many jobs, Vince. Catering, and I had a bad relationship with food because, you had to eat at weird hours and you have to, scarf whatever you can. And, it's, really bad food. And I had a bad relationship with food and things got really dark. But then, I cleaned things up, and it doesn't have to be, don't try and diet. Ever. Don't go into things and say I'm going to lose weight. That way lies madness.
Quickly redefine the word diet.
Yeah,
diet is not a fad thing. Yeah. Diet is not I'm doing this for now. It's just a lifestyle. It's the way you eat ordinarily. And it's making small healthy adjustments.
And so if you do things when you have a choice between salad and fries and you just always choose salad, except for maybe occasionally you're one day a week I will choose fries, just something like that will become a lifestyle instead of just you lose 5 pounds and then get it all back.
Do you remember what we used to call it was the Thursday was the Victory Ice Cream Day? You remember
Feel sad he looks. Jesus.
Victory ice cream day. Wow.
Yeah, no, and it was along in that same line too. When I worked at DreamWorks Animation, they had free soft serve up until 3 p.m.
God.
Dude, I worked there.
They still do.
DreamWorks Animation.
They still Universal.
I worked on Kung Fu Panda.
I cannot talk about
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
Universal Crap House always has popcorn going, and it's called the Breakfast of Champions because they open at 4 a.m.
Okay.
And so you would get there, it'd be literally, I mean, you think of LA as being an all-night town. It's not.
No, we have a bedtime.
There's, it's either granola at your house or popcorn.
Yeah, everything closes
at
at 2.
Universal. Yeah, and
so
that's
making those choices.
Yeah.
When Dreamsicle is staring you in the face,
Yeah.
you have to
Crafty.
say not
crafty.
today.
Crafty.
Okay,
crafty is a dirty
also
word.
try this too. If you have a habit like you always have soda all the time or you eat really badly, try going for a month without it, and I can guarantee, because I was such a soda
Wait till you
addict.
see what happens.
I know, a month, and then after that, I couldn't drink soda anymore,
It doesn't taste
and like I
as-
lost
I
a
will
ton
say
of
of
weight.
dieting, it is good
Yeah.
to do, I would say, temporary diets where you have like an end cap. Like, okay, for 1 month I'm gonna do this thing, whatever your
See
goal
how I
is.
feel,
I
yeah.
think removing certain foods, like, it can make you feel bad because you don't realize that these things
an
are making you
elimination
feel
diet.
bad.
Fat, I mean, sugars especially, and you
Sugar.
can do things like instead of soda, you can do sparkling
Yeah.
water. It may not do the same thing, but if the carbonation's what you want, which a lot of people learn,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
drink
it's
soda
just soda
because
water.
not because you
Personally,
want the sugar, you want the
You want the
carbonation.
burping.
So maybe what being an
satisfying
adult
burp,
is
because-
one thing is discipline.
Yes.
Sure.
Which I always looked at.
Wow.
I'm very much into that.
Yeah.
I guess maybe private school, it's being that
Yeah.
kind of disciplined thing and going. 2 years ago, I challenged myself no cookies for a year. I did it. No, first it was no muffins for a year. Then last year was no muffins, no cookies for a year.
I can do
And this year it
muffins.
was supposed to be no muffins, no cookies, no ice cream. Amy Vorpahl said I would be a horrible monster should I do that. Thank you.
Also, actually, Michelle told me you gotta live your life, man.
Yeah.
You told me that one time when we were like gonna get like some treat or something, and I was
you
like,
were really,
oh
like-
no, I was like really hardcore.
Because like sometimes we live in Los Angeles. If you talk to anybody,
We do?
they're on a diet. They're on a diet.
Yeah.
You're like, everyone's on a diet here. Everyone's trying to lose just 3 more pounds. Like, I
I've
don't.
never met anyone here who wasn't trying to lose 5 more pounds.
Exactly, and I think like I
truth.
hear a lot from my friends, and I'm always in my friend group. I'm the friend who works out, and everyone just bitches about their weight, and I'm like, guys, worry about like your heart health, worry about like your energy. Don't worry about like your waist size. Like, of course we want to, we want to look slim for like the camera and stuff, but
Sure. But
it's-
health is above cosmetics.
Exactly,
I guess
yeah.
that's-
And being the New Yorker here, also everybody in New York is doing that, especially in theater and on Broadway.
And it's
Yeah.
not just the cities thing, because like
Yeah.
all my Tennessee friends are all doing that stupid plexus shit.
What's a plexus?
Oh.
I'd be happy you don't know about plexus.
I want to
That's
be
fine.
super
Don't
honest
Google.
though. I am on a diet right now, minus this Mountain Dew. I'm on.
I happen to know. I
What?
watched her open it. That's a diet do.
It's a diet Dew. It's like slightly less aggressive Mountain Dew.
Diet, and diet is and diet is rough because
It is a lie.
The aspartame is the worst.
It is a lie, but I haven't had any soda in like about a month. So what I'm trying to say is like the diet I'm on right now is to help me reset because I was eating like bread every day, like just I was just housing like loaves of bread. I was like, yo, I gotta stop. you crave it, like your body is like, I need that sugar and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm taking like a month and just being like not doing
I'm
that.
exercising twice a week. I'm like exercising intensely twice a week. I'm eating better.
Yeah.
But I've gone up a shirt size. I mean, like, it's
changing.
because
Yeah.
I'm getting, and so like,
I worked out with you, man.
no, it's great.
do
Do
this.
you have any tape? Cause you're ripped.
Thank you. That was amazing.
I
got a whole
got
bunch.
a good piece of advice that we're to find 3 things for balancing at least. So find a hobby that makes you money, find a hobby that you do for fun, find a hobby that you exercise with. And so
That's right.
really
You're the
good.
dance.
Because I go to dance classes.
That's such a good point because the when I was the most fit in my life is when I had a fire troupe and I was performing regularly, like doing that kind of
Physical,
routine,
yeah.
physical work.
Yeah.
And as much as I love going to the gym with Vince, I haven't quite found.
I
Like,
hate lifting heavy things and putting them down again. But like getting into the dance studio, it's something that I like. I didn't necessarily like hip hop, but it's what was offered in my area.
Yeah.
So it was like a new challenge, and now I love it. Like I love going and learning.
To that point, though, like I don't personally enjoy weightlifting for itself. I
Sure,
like the
yeah.
results it brings, but like I swing dance. I do
yeah.
hip hop.
You do?
Yeah, Lindy. Like is the right?
I miss dance and I miss martial arts because
Yes, I do
Yeah.
martial arts. Yeah, that's great.
because I turned my ankle and I haven't been able to go back to martial arts
Oh,
since
no.
then. But
Yeah.
that was like find something
Crock-pot.
that you
Oh.
love and
Yeah.
and that also helps you feel good.
And it could just be like
life
taking
hack.
long walks You know,
Yeah.
take
a walk.
Yeah, I also want to throw out there, like, being healthy has nothing to do with what you look like.
Right.
Yeah. I absolutely am overweight, and I know it. And I'm cool with it because I do have other priorities. But my cholesterol is unbelievable. Like, my doctor kind of, like, looked at me weird because I do eat well, especially now that I know my body can't handle certain things. And so, yeah, I absolutely, for a long time, was just eating the wrong things because I didn't know I was sick. Now that I've got a little bit of a handle on it, I dropped a lot of weight for a little while. People are like, "Oh, you look so good." I'm like, "Oh, it's because I'm dying."
That is the most LA. That's such a good LA joke.
Yeah.
You look great.
And
You
I'm like,
never look
well,
better.
I actually have been bleeding internally, so
I have the consumption.
But be careful about falling into that trap of like what you look like means health and stuff like that.
Physical or mental.
I'm at my healthiest I've been in a long time, and I don't necessarily look like it so much. That being said, I absolutely need to walk more, and I know those things.
And you can, as long as you make the time for
Exactly.
it. Yeah, it's all about time. You have to make some sacrifices. Okay, I'm going to play God of War for 2 hours instead of 2.5 hours.
Apparently a very good game that somebody on the couch may be in, but I can't talk about it till Sunday.
We're not
Is there a
saying
pop
no.
final of my character? I don't know. I can't talk about it till Sunday. I'm an adult and I obey NDA. By the way, I just broke my NDA.
Discipline.
No, I don't know who
It was announced. It was announced.
Cone of NDA.
Right. It's on IMDb.
Well, you were talking about discipline, and I know that you wanted to talk about mental health.
Yes, that was a huge topic because that is something I know that the community has asked a lot about, and something that I think everybody in this room and everybody that we know has to be super, super conscious of. Yeah.
You're looking at me because I just started.
Oh no.
Nothing
like crying in the car.
I have a lot. I've just started therapy about 3 months ago, and I'm finding it. Of course, before I was like, oh, I'm stronger than that. I talk to myself. I don't need this. I know what my problems are, and I can logically figure them out. Well, I couldn't. Things happened last year that broke me. Everybody's like, oh, Darren's this real happy guy. I'm very Russian, and I'm Russian, Arab, Irish, and French. We're very depressing people. Yeah. So I sink into these deep depressions. And I'm dealing with them now. And I found that going to a therapist is someone that held me accountable. I knew if I was going to head into a spiral, I had to talk about it tomorrow with therapy. I know that going on Saturday, I will discuss it and how I fight that. Because at the beginning of the year, it was bad, and you know this. And I probably shouldn't be mentioning this on
Actually, because that's the thing. I'm glad that you could talk about it because you are somebody that the world, literally, people all over the world look up to. And so to hear you talk about this openly really just sort of dispels this myth that, like, that it's not okay to have problems, like, because it is okay to have problems. Absolutely. Even like one of the most successful, like, talented, and like seemingly happy people in the world deals with depression, and it's okay. And I think that's something that people need to hear.
Yeah, and it's just knowing in yourself that you are stronger and you can handle more than you think you can. Yeah. And I've always dealt with that, having to deal with my parents' death and being the responsible one, even though I was always looked at in my family as the idiot, because I was the creative guy. And I dealt with everything. I was the one that handled every moment and wasn't, man, we don't want to go there. No. Dealing with that stuff, you can do it. But then sometimes you need to sit back and talk to someone in a professional manner that's not a friend, who will say, hey, look, I see you heading down this path. Maybe don't take that path. But what I have learned, and you come to these wonderful epiphanies, you go, everybody's on their own journey. Everybody here is on their own journey. So to be upset with someone, you don't need to spend that energy. They're dealing with their own life.
Yes. And there's an opportunity when you start having these kind of, like you said, non-friendly discussions, that you start to realize that things that you may have made labels for to help you go down the path are better when you have a little bit of outside perspective inside of it. And you start to, because really good friends can do this, but they will always they won't want to challenge you the way that someone professionally is willing to sometimes challenge you.
I did find that the time when you need people around you, and I tend to hide and push people away because I'm very, very private. But I needed people when my folks were for a year and a half slowly dying, and nobody wants to come near you. And then when they passed, you're like, I need to deal with this somehow. Nobody wants to.
It's that weird place in the middle where you feel like, at least this was always my experience with depression, was that you feel like you're supposed to deal with it alone. That's kind of what I've been like, why am I not capable?
I don't want to be a burden to my family.
No, and why am I not capable of doing this? What's wrong with me? And then that's just this terrible.
Yeah, you become depressed if you're looked at as like a fun person. I deal with that a lot. Like I'm real fucking funny, so like, it can be weird for me to like come in and be like, you know what, I feel like I'm gonna cry today. But like you have to find those outlets for it. One of the things I did, I started a period support group on Facebook, and it's just like 30 women who, when it's their time, just talk about the horrible things that happen when you are going through your period every fucking month. And like that kind of in a weird way became, because you know, one of the things you do have to deal with is hormones and things like that, and that absolutely does affect your mental health at stages, some people more than other. But I did notice that it was kind of it was a little bit of a cycle with me. Like I would have really a hard time, you know, at certain points in my cycle, and so that was one of the ways I dealt with it. I just recently had a friend go through something like just really horrible, and the horrible thing just couldn't go away. She kept having to be in situations where the horrible thing was just in front of her all the time. And you know, I didn't know what to do with it. And
depression can be a routine that we can all fall into, and once we kind of go down that pathway, it's kind of like when you put those quarters on those rotating spirals that go down, and it slowly just
feels comfortable in a weird way.
And it does feel comfortable to be able to get into it. And sometimes what it takes is
such a good answer for everything.
There is a sometimes you just need to kind of like get out of that vortex, in whether it's an outside influence or it's something that you do on yourself. You just need to flick that cord a little bit,
or just someone saying like, "Yeah, I've been there. I've yelled at a tampon too." Yeah. So,
and it's to the point of where I was talking to Xander 3 days ago about feeling like I'm in a fishbowl and all I do is like dad work all the time, and I was feeling a lot like you know, I am not important to the people around me anymore because I'm officially like I'm just so involved in my own shit. Right. My own shit stinks sometimes. You know? But all it took was literally having a beer with Xander, and it was like it
make
flushed
house
it.
calls.
Yeah. But it was being with a friend.
Let's come back to this place and everybody here and the chat room. There wasn't this when I was younger. This is a wonderful sense of safe space, of support, of positivity. And it's a great way to reach out to everybody and go, you know, I see you, I know you, and you know, and that as an adult, you need it. Yeah. You need community. You feel like, I can handle it, I'm fine. Yeah. Sometimes you can't, and you just need to share it. And this place creates that, and hopefully we're doing that for all you guys out there. And
it's not as easy as when we were all little and in Bob's world.
We're just friends now.
Someone in the chat mentioned free resources.
Actually, I'd like to discuss that too. And as you've heard from everybody in this room, mental health is extremely important. Don't ever feel like you're alone. That you should be strong enough to handle it yourself. Reach out to friends. Reach out to loved ones. If you feel like you don't have those, if you Google, there are so many free resources. Just like hotlines you can call to talk to, like if it's bad enough to be suicidal, like definitely there are suicide hotlines. There are even hotlines where people will just be there to listen to you, and also you can find like free or sliding scale mental health resources anywhere that you live.
Right, you don't even need to get to that point where you're challenging your existence in order to reach out for help. Under no circumstances do you need to wait for it to get that bad.
Don't feel like you're not sad enough.
Yes.
It's true.
I feel that so much.
Let it be. If there are people out there who love you, there are people out there who appreciate you, they are out there waiting for you. You just need to have the willingness to be able to go out there and find them, because we love you.
And it's so rough when you can't afford proper services, and I've been in that place where I'm like, I know what I need and I can't get access to it. Yeah. But there are
sliding scale things, and for psychiatrists and psychologists in local areas, and they will work with you and within your budget, and there are even free resources in some areas.
Even if you're not religious, churches actually are a really good resource.
Oh God, that's true.
I was lucky to grow up in a church that was very works oriented, and they had a domestic violence shelter. They had resources. So there usually are members on staff who are just counselors. You may have to talk about Jesus a little bit, but if they're worth their salt, they're absolutely gonna.
But it's just having someone that you can talk to and having a little bit of that sense of community can itself be a very, very big first step.
There's also something to be said for the power of ritual. Ritual can
work.
Absolutely.
Oh, very much. And I don't want to downplay anyone who needs that. My parents are very religious, and it's very important to them. And part of that is the belief in something bigger than yourselves, and I think all of us can at least believe in something a little bit bigger than ourselves, even if it's just common sense.
Common sense.
So don't let anyone kind of get down on you. If you feel like you need that, that's the thing you need. That's why it's around. I don't want to say
I had a friend at one point, in my desperate attempt to get my shit together, I had a friend, literally I just sort of cornered them and said, I will not unload at you about all the terrible things that are currently going on in my brain. I just need to get you to help me schedule this an appointment with somebody, and just make it happen. And I will never speak to you of this. I will never say it's fine, everything's fine. Why? Actually, it's really bad. I won't ever do that to you again. just I want to wake up in the morning and have this scheduled at any time. Just make it happen.
I want to riff on something that Darren said, where you had this feeling like I should be strong enough to deal with this on my own. So that's one thing that's a big roadblock for why people say I'm not going to go into therapy, or I'm not even going to open up to a friend or whatever. Another big one, and I don't know if this is an Asian thing, and maybe I'm sure it's in all cultures, but the whole guilty. You feel guilty if you're at some level of comfort and prosperity in the world, relatively.
Oh, yeah.
You feel well, there are people out there dying in war zones. There are people out there doing this. What right do I have to complain about anything? And this is something that I've fallen into that has sort of hindered my journey through therapy as well. And I've really had to try and shake that off. Everybody's got their own baseline. And it's not our fault what we were born into or where we happen to be. If you're looking at the rest of the world saying well, I'm in the 90-something%, I really don't deserve to complain, you do have a right to complain, and because your reality is your reality, and if you want to be healthy for your life in this reality, talk to somebody. It's not like you're broadcasting to the world, hey, I'm complaining, what do you people think in that war-torn country? No, this is your own personal experience.
That's also a Southern thing, a Catholic thing, a Jewish thing, and a human thing. So don't.
I'll also say that the second I got healthy enough to function as an adult, the second I actually got to the point where I could function, I was in a position to help others, which was just once you're healthy, it's really gratifying to be like, oh fuck, friends who are having shitty. Oh, I can help with this. Oh God, let's get.
Which is also why being able to rely on people like that to open up to people, because so many folks have already walked some path like that, and once somebody's already taped it off, it's so much easier to pick someone up and say, I've actually done this. Let me. I can show you a way you can go.
Yeah, a lot of people are a lot more eager to help than you would imagine. It's not a burden.
And it helps them work through their own shit, too.
Yeah, reiteration is the best reflection. Sometimes literally just being able to chance to talk about it. I've done this in my life a lot. Again, this is a personal thing. Not everyone has a chance to do this. But sometimes just repeating to someone what is going on over and over again to different people, I will learn more information about what that means than if they're giving me advice back.
No, totally.
That's it. And sometimes I don't even need them to hold on to anything. It's just allowing me to talk.
Oh man,
you get to work it through.
If I've learned anything like that is, oh God, here's advice. Here's advice. Oh my God. When someone is confiding in you with their problems, most likely they're not looking for a solution to them. This is especially if it's something that doesn't really have a solution. If it's just stuff is shitty, they're not looking for you to go, well, what you really should do is get a crock pot.
I find that I have friends that do that, and then I have friends who don't do that. So when I'm having a serious problem, I go to my friends who don't try to solve it.
You want someone to just go, oh my God, that sounds really shitty.
Right. I've had people say to me, I don't know why you're telling me this. I don't know how to fix your problem. And I'm like, what the hell?
Cool, man. Just try to say it.
Acknowledge that you heard it.
The advice is that you don't always that when people are talking about the problems, they aren't always looking for advice.
Yeah, they just trust you and they need
And that's also a
board.
lesson that I've had to learn on both ends. In that there are some people, like you said, I don't talk to if I know that I'm just gonna get flack or unnecessary advice back. And I also had to learn that there are certain situations where I'm listening to someone else and I'm like, I really want to solve this problem. Like inherently, I try to give advice, I try to help, but I sit back and I realize that's not at all what they want right now, and it wouldn't help. It wouldn't do anything for them because they're trying to work through this problem, and venting it is what's doing that.
If there's anything you can learn from the Me Too movement that's happened, is just hearing the problem is so powerful. Like, just hear the story. Punish some people would be great. But like the very first step and the very first thing is to hear and believe. And even if they turn around and say, what should I do? You can say, I don't know, but I hear you and I understand and I feel.
Yeah.
That in its own thing.
Springboarding off of that too, one of the good like stigmas in the queer community is that this notion of like the found family, and it's kind of always been baked into finding people that are like you within like the LGBT community, and having a springboard or a sounding board back and forth, and going back to the question of like, how did you know that you were an adult? You get kind of thrown into it in the queer community, especially if you're in a small town. There's this sense of like what you were talking about, like I need to leave because I'm not being understood here, or I don't feel comfortable or safe expressing who I am in this community. But that being said, like you mentioned before, there are a lot of free resources, even in like the smallest towns. Like there's something, so there's a hotline, there's the internet.
Thank God for the internet.
I mean, the internet is a resource of information. If I may, Erica and Taliesin, there is one thing that I've been wanting to talk to about a long time, and it's something that I actually wrote my thesis paper on in college about. It was coming of age ceremonies. And how I personally feel like our American culture, if you want to call American culture, is there is no coming of age ceremony that helps you kind of create a milestone. Because again, we've talked about
I grew up in an area that was third Jewish and stuff though, so like
there are communities that do coming of age ceremonies.
But then so my sister was like, so there's that, and then she had friends that had quinceañeras and everything, and then some of her like wealthier friends had like the debutante things, and so but she got cotillion or something, but she was like, well, I don't have anything, and I think a lot in America.
Well, the thing is, and what I mean by coming of age ceremony, what I don't mean is an expensive party.
Sure.
You know, because in my mind, defining a coming of age ceremony is an opportunity to talk to your peers, an opportunity to talk to your I'm not going to say your betters, but your community, but also the people who have gone through this. You want to get experience from all the kind of different stages.
You want to join a bike gang.
You want no, that's actually this is so important because I mean a lot of soldiers who came back from Vietnam, a lot of them went and joined motorcycle gangs. That was how they dealt with the fact that they had lost community. They only had each other. They had the bond of like leadership and squadship together, and they had to apply that back in civilian.
A lot of people in chat have been calling out throughout the evening, that this community and the community that they find within the chat room is very important. It's extremely important.
I love this place here.
Oh, well, just the friend group that we hang out with. Like, my LA experience before that and after that is, like, I wasn't having a terrible time, but I feel like I'm thriving more.
So I found I found a community for myself when I was young, and I don't know if it really exists anymore, but I want to throw this out there to you. I found my experience joining cast of the Rocky Horror Picture Show to be an intensely...
No, it was huge, and for me, like, that was actually one place in which I started to academically look at coming of age ceremonies. I actually got mine even earlier because I was one of those kids that decided to scare the hell out of my mother, hop into a car and go camp in the desert for a week and not tell anyone where I was.
Oh, God.
And because I wanted to challenge myself mentally,
she killed you and you're a ghost, so you're not even here.
Because
You can see him too.
But there are plenty of ways, and I feel so, it sucks when I see some kids who are literally like, well, when do I become a kid? Is it when I go to college? Is it when I get a car? Or is
Get
it
married,
when I
have
get married?
kids.
Yeah.
Like there's not, and it's different for everyone, which is fine, but not being able to be in that position where you have a safety net to fail,
Sure.
which college provides for a lot of people, or have a place in which you can have a strong conversation with people who are in your age group to talk about what you're going through at the same time, which places like Rocky Horror does for a lot of time.
I mean, like there were negative aspects to the experience too. There were
Sure.
positive and negatives, but it was. I mean, I learned. I don't know who I would be.
And it's
without
not even
that
just
place.
about like sexuality or sex. It's about like just how do you communicate with people, and how do you listen and bond and go through the strife that human beings go through, and then be able to take that with you in your adulthood, which is so rare. And you know, and usually like quinceañeras and bar mitzvahs, these are things traditionally that were structured in order to be able to make that kind of opportunity. And now, unfortunately, there's a stigma around them in which it's now just kind of become a glorified party. It's just an excuse to throw money to celebrate their adulthood, but they don't actually give the information in which traditionally it was supposed to pass over.
We need like a VR experience.
Well, there is something to be said for fraternities and sororities. I think it has been horribly manipulated and is not what it was. But I think in the beginning it was a place where people came from all across the country to find new family. Yeah. I think hazing is, you know.
You gave me a great idea. We should bring back the Freemasons. We could just do the Free Persons though.
They're still around. I know a Freemason who's younger than me. It freaks me out.
We have several on the channel.
So
They just love making things.
So if you're having a hard time not
That's all it's about.
figuring out or identifying who you are, like I highly recommend you go find a community that appeals to you and go on an adventure with them.
Adventure.
Adventure.
An
Friend
actual
trips.
adventure, not just let's
Friend
get around
trips.
and hang out and talk with each other. Like you know, there's something to be said for sitting around a campfire and having community and talking, but go on a goddamn adventure. Like go out and make some bad choices.
Really deal with that shit. Like
Getting my
experience
roommate to
something.
sleep in a tent would be a small miracle. So,
Matt Mercer calls it the say yes philosophy.
I have never done that ever.
Guys,
They were like, here are the rules.
Walmart
I went
at
to
4
Catholic
a.m.
school.
can be an adventure.
Yeah, it was like, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs. Okay, I'm doing theater. I'm busy. I'm drawing. And you know, and so those were the thing. And I guess
you are an adventure with us, and to be fair, you are an adventure every day.
I
You should go to
did.
Burning Man with them.
Oh, no.
okay, so guys, we're all doing Burning Man, right?
I can't do yoga.
Let's all do it.
I tried yoga,
That's the
and I
stigma.
know
I
we love
have
it.
eczema, so I can't go with other
You don't have to swing to the other side of the pendulum.
Sure.
Guys,
I mean, it needs to be some sort of crucible
Comfort
in
zone.
which you figure out who you are.
You
and
absolutely
that could
did have an event.
still be at home
Yeah.
and just like having a sleepover or
LA.
something. It just has to be something out of your comfort zone.
Sometimes literally,
I mean, like I just pointed out that like I can think of like the first time that we really had a serious conversation was about your risk coming to Los Angeles and getting out of your comfort zone and
That is an
expanding
Exactly.
expanding your craft and your art.
Yeah, that's still weird.
I know.
Find acceptance like
it's
that.
really important to know that, like, when you're doing that, it feels like shit. It's terrifying. It's horrible, and like, it's the
misery.
worst. But it is the making of you. But also, like, it doesn't have to be something serious. Like, I do Geshwiz, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a big, huge scavenger hunt, right? And for me, it was like a Tuesday because I'm part of a really friggin' weird community. But for a couple of people who had joined onto our team, they never even thought about making a bra out of lettuce before, and so it's really pushing their
dum-dums.
No, but don't worry if
Not even living.
if your comfort zone is smaller than others. The important part is that, like, you're trying something new, and you may find something you absolutely love. You might find something you absolutely hate.
and that's okay.
Bad boundary, well, not bad boundary, but like bad.
Discovering,
yeah.
you don't discover boundaries until you've accidentally walked over them sometimes.
Yeah.
And
You
I
know?
think, I mean, a lot of people in this room have touched on failures, like spectacular failures, failures. But that's the thing is because everybody in this room has taken risks, and I feel like my life has just been a series of risks, great and small, and like some
And they can
terrible
be calculated.
failures.
Yeah.
But in the end, like, I regret. I will always regret the risks that I did not take more than I regret the risks that I took.
Watermelon soup.
Watermelon
soup. It's a dessert soup, and it's a small risk, but you order it, and the worst thing that happens is you have a story about how bad watermelon soup was.
And then that's the thing.
Did not care for it.
You guys said it's already a phrase for this. It's you missed 100% of the shots you don't take.
Whoa, the double dab.
Sorry, I just discovered it like last year, so I'm very excited.
When you think about the whole concept of a comfort zone, I mean, when we're children love and they're so excited about everything because everything is new. And we as adults, we would continue to seek out these new experiences and have that sort of, that just invigorating, sort of exhilarating life, if it weren't for being burned by trying things has developed a comfort zone for you, because now you have reason to second guess, oh, I'm not gonna go jump off that cliff. I mean, which is probably a good thing, but I'm just saying it's a bad example. But like,
unless you do that,
well,
like that's your
bungee
thing.
jumping. Yeah.
Talking about stories, think about Harry Potter. It takes a kid $7 to kill Voldemort, but it's really fun.
I would say the hardest part about failure and adulting is that it is almost impossible to not get jaded by your failures. To have one too many people promise you a job or an amazing opportunity or something, and then completely effed in the A. Like, this happens. Sorry.
Thank you for disguising that so cleverly.
That's me not swearing.
What was she trying to say?
But like, I think
I'm still confused.
I'll explain it to you later.
We'll explain it when you're older.
I dress like this every day.
And as Dr. Seuss would say, no one wants to be in the waiting place. No one wants to live in the waiting place and just get out of the waiting place.
Actual pronunciation of his name?
Sois. I mean, that's a good
I'm learning.
That's what he wants.
Have you ever read
Theodore Geisel. Dr. Seuss.
Theodore Geisel. Yeah, that makes sense.
I learned that as an adult.
Have you read his political cartoons?
Oh God!
No.
Yeah, I have the whole collection of Going to War with Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
it's an amazing book.
They're very good.
My brain just turned entirely to. I mean, like I'm thinking about just like the measure that like I was watching chat earlier, like as people were discussing what it means to be an adult, and as people were like putting up the bars of what they consider to be adulthood, I don't meet any of them. But like like we're all here on the internet right now because our lives have led us to be here on the internet.
This is amazing. Like what?
But like,
it's pretty dope.
I've got friends who are living out of their car, touring the U.S. and South America, having a great time right now, and they're like, I check my Facebook once every 3 months just to see what my parents
But also,
are up to.
please know that I have about 10 emails that I'm just really ignoring.
Oh,
you know, having it together, like if you have it all together, it means you're dead. Like
there's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
No one has it all together.
There will always be another thing, even if it's just like, oh, I have to eat now. Like there's always going to be another bar.
If you have a clean inbox, you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at that.
Yeah, but
As opposed to, oh God, there's so many.
I'm doing a lot.
The other side of that is like if you're not busy, it's okay too.
Sure.
Like,
It's okay.
Yeah. Like the idea is as long as you're. What is it? The Hippocratic Oath is first do no harm.
Do no harm.
Like if you're not hurting anyone, you can be okay.
I would say a large part of my adulthood happens when I was very successful in I just started my Hello Kitty business. It's a weird thing to say out loud, but I was so busy.
I'm so glad that I heard it.
I was basically like, I can just do all the manufacturing, all the accounting. I just did everything myself, and for this order of maybe 4,000, and I was just doing it in my house. So basically, I didn't talk or see or do anything to any. I didn't talk to any of my friends for months, and I was like, oh, I don't even know who my friends are right now. So it was a weird time in my life. This is before any of you guys knew me. And basically, I was like, work is not more important than my happiness.
Right. I
have money, but now I don't have friends. So I literally I just made a very conscious decision. I got to know myself that I need friends, that I need companionship. So even if I'm really, really busy, I make time. I carve out time for people. Yep. And you have a family.
I actually ran into the exact same thing running my business back in 2013, 14, 15, in that area. Because I pretty much shut myself off entirely from the world, but not just for months, for years. I lost touch with all my friends, most of my family, because I was so focused day in, day out just doing this. And it made amazing money. It was successful by that measure, but it resulted in pretty much a complete mental breakdown at the end of 2014 because I had no one left in my life.
I hear you. I feel
it was just me doing
this. Society telling us that success is only measured by your bank account and your status on a ladder of being a CEO or whatever.
Ultimately, I completely I shut down the business. I sold everything off. I got rid of everything. I dropped my income down to a 10th perhaps of what it was, so I could have a life that I actually thought was worth living.
Yeah.
And it's been so much better doing that.
That's real adulthood, you know,
that's what
throwing
they
this
say
away.
in that triangle. It's like, and they do say, and it's so cliche, but there's so much truth. Is that life is a great balancing act in which you need to feel like you're rewarded because of success, that you're challenging your endeavors, that you're being close to the people you care about. You can never double down on one corner and find truly a whole shape.
No.
I would like to ask a question.
Yeah.
Because getting back to being an adult in the way we dress, I do this. I came this. I did not know I was going to be on this particular show. And that everyone was going to, quote unquote, dress up.
We're cosplaying as like people who could hang out with Darren DePaul.
I'm incredibly comfortable in this. Is everyone comfortable dressing this way?
I love wearing suits. I actually really do.
That's so great.
That was another thing we wanted to talk about was style and dressing.
I inherited many of my grandfather. My grandfather was a man of taste and sophistication, and I inherited many of his suits. And I enjoy. I don't quite want to call it. I would have almost called it adult drag at one point, although I feel like I now can wear adult these and feel like I understand what it is and what it means and how I can use it, and I like being very flashy. So actually knowing how men's clothing works means I know what all these things do and how they work. I like that.
It's empowering. Dressing nice is empowering.
No, I feel like persons with boobs get a well-fitting bra. Like it really does matter. Like this is the nicest dress I own. I had to sew up a hole in it this morning. So I wear jorts to work. I do. I love them. They're terrible. They're gross. They're stained. I kind of feel ashamed when I go to IKEA in them sometimes. But I can get away with that. I'm an artist. I work alone most of the time. So like dressing appropriate is fine. It's fine when you're wearing jorts. But part of it is like you don't have to play that role. You don't have to wear makeup. And you don't have to put on pants unless you like wear a job where you have to wear pants. But like kind of know how to do it. Like if you can get away with wearing the same shirt.
Nobody in the crew is wearing pants right now.
Yeah, they're not on camera.
Everybody's free balling.
Terms of service.
But it is good to know about it. Like my years as a prop master taught me that the more you can know about a thing, the better you can be at anything. Because when you're a prop master, sometimes like you have to do something with plumbing, you have to do something with this, you have to pull from all of these skills. Like learning a thing never makes you worse, except for, well, there are a couple things that maybe make you worse. But learning a skill, maybe not worse, but like learning a skill, it never, like leveling up never hurts.
Chat's not wearing pants.
Chat better not be wearing pants.
It's so funny because like I recently celebrated my 3-year anniversary here in the channel, and I went back and looked at some old streams of myself, and I'm like, oh my god, like I didn't have you all watched me develop a sense of style.
We had long talks about this.
We did, and like you were definitely influential, and like it's you and Sax and Whitney Moore all like played a huge part, and like in like convincing me to do with my hair what I wanted to, and I just the past 3 years have been a series of me saying like, I don't have to dress how I think that like I should be cast. I'm gonna dress the way I want to dress, and it's been the most freeing thing in my life. And I feel more confident in myself than I ever have before.
And every week we rate our closets. Like
we do.
Every week we rate our closets for what we're gonna wear on for this show. And it's so delightful.
I'm the most comfortable in costume and in ways that I can express myself.
Something right now about that. I think that your 3-year-old epiphany is just because I remember when we were first doing Game the Game, and I was just literally in sweatpants and a hoodie playing with Becca, and that was a very different time.
I think that I worked in fashion for a long time, and I think I look back in photos of myself too, and I used to think I was like so fucking cool, and I look at these pictures and I'm like, God, bitch, we're drawing something.
No, you are so wrong.
You are a fashion icon. You are a fashion icon.
But listen, what we're trying to get
to
what we're trying to get to is that's not true, of course, because as long as you're having fun and you're confident in that moment, like do your thing. Like I know on social media, I look like I dress up like this all the time. My hair is always curly. I always wear makeup. I work from home most of the time, y'all. So I wake up, I go to the gym, I come home, I put my pajamas back on, and then I work for about 8 hours on my computer like this. And then sometimes, if I'm get cold, I don't get a jacket. I get a blanket and I just put it over my head and my shoulders and I just keep typing.
Cave. Yeah.
So that's what I look like most of the time.
If you surprise me at my house, I'm not gonna look good.
But the thing is, I don't mind. I know I look like that in the middle of the day. It's fine. But like when I go out and if I want to look nice, I will. If I don't feel, it's LA, so I can kind of go do anything casually as well. Yeah. Then I just go out without my makeup, and that's fine too. But it's kind of knowing your situations and what you're.
I have what might be an unpopular opinion. Well, it'll be popular over here. I'm going to drop an unpopular opinion.
Take clothes off.
I think everyone, regardless of gender, regardless of station in life, whatever you do, whatever, and however this manifests, I think everyone should probably own one fantastic suit.
I agree.
Okay, I would say one fantastic piece of clothing that makes you feel good. Like, so whether you spend money on it, whether it's like a dress or a suit or a sweater, a fancy thing that makes you feel great.
I'll go one further. A suit and a dress.
Yes.
Whatever that means.
That's the thing too, is that now, it always has been that clothing is such a gender identifier. Yeah. And so I think we're coming into it now where more people are being aware of how I'm presenting is how I want you, maybe how I want you to address me. Yeah. But I know that a lot of people that are like non-binary struggle with that and how they present and how they want to be gendered, or they are fearing being misgendered by dressing a certain way. And it's all about what makes you comfortable and what you want to wear.
And to be fair, it's not. So when we and maybe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm going against your unpopular opinion here, Taliesin, but owning one good suit does not mean you need to go out and spend $800.
No. Something that makes you feel like $1 million.
My first suit, I went and spent 3 days at like 4 or 5 different St. Vinny de Pauls and Goodwill. Yes. And I tried on every single, this was $10 at a Goodwill, and the only reason I picked it up is because it's a little short, but it fits for the shoulders, and it fits fine, and at least I had something, and you can go get a good vest if you want, but you don't have to go and fork over the entire thing.
I do love a good three-piece.
Speaking as someone who shops a lot.
My
father was a clothing designer for a long time. I grew up in Palm Beach, Florida. He had shops on Worth Avenue. It's like the Rodeo Drive of. I was that kid. And we had horses. And
I had horses too.
It was a thing. But there are places you can go. Off Fifth is great. What's the other? Nordstrom Rack is very good. These are things where you can pick up stuff very well. Now,
this is a Calvin Klein dress.
Yeah.
I did not buy it in a Calvin Klein store.
This came from my sister. I recently went to San Antonio. My wife is doing a show on tour, On Your Feet, the Gloria Estefan musical. She's in Boston right now. She'll be here in a while. But they were in San Antonio. I haven't seen my sister in 7 years. We're very different people. That's a different story. But she found... She's been with a gentleman for a very long time, and he has a resale place. This is from her. It was a gift. You can go to these.
Secondhand outlets.
But it's like, I'm going to sell this. Consignment.
Consignment stores.
And you find something.
Buffalo Exchange,
And
that's where all the goth kids clothes end up.
That's where we got a bunch of my
with
cool
this
stuff.
and went. And I don't think it was that expensive. It's wasn't even in the hundreds.
And here's the thing too. It's you can spend that money and feel good about it. Like even if it's a little because what I've also learned too is that just kind of what you were saying, Erica, about my only regrets are the risks I didn't take. I always feel good about the things that I go out and like, you know what, screw it, those horns that I really don't need but I really like, I'm gonna buy them, and then even if I don't use them that day, you can bet your ass like a month or two down the road I find
as long as you're not beggaring yourself to do it. Like there's a responsibility.
There's responsibility, but there's a little bit of a. I'm just saying you can juggle.
I mean that's part of mental health is having things around you. Like yes, it's just things, but sometimes it's things that bring you joy.
You can return stuff.
My favorite suit was $4 at a St. Vincent's, and with about $25 worth of tailoring, and It made me look like a circus.
Tailoring. Let's talk about tailoring. You can buy something from Goodwill for like $5, and then
don't be afraid. Those guys are magicians.
So the things you need in life is you need a good tailor. You need a good tax accountant. If you're going to go into business, it is nice to at least have someone you can call to for legal rep, even if you never ever use them in your life. And a good graphic designer.
And a good community, good friends.
Good community, good friends.
And you're always working on these things because they're always changing.
And you never find them. Like you'll never find them usually on the first pass. It's very rare that you get
stuck with you people.
The goalposts will always change. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a really fucking frustrating thing. But as long as you're always taking a step forward, even if there are a few steps back, it's still progress and it's still growth.
I'm also going to say, because I saw a few of our non-binary friends popping up in chat, and I was having the same discussion with some non-binary friend in Berlin a few months ago when I was which is the best, by the way, the best city for like figuring out your non-binary status. Berlin itself is practically like is doing the like I don't want to be associated with either end of this. It's perfect.
The discovery for decades at this point. Berlin about a discovery through the decades.
East Berlin, West Berlin, North Berlin. It's got its own flavor.
Well, it went through some shit.
It went through some. It had a rough childhood.
It has issues and daddy issues.
But a big thing we were talking about was the fashion of the 80s. There was a lot of interesting stuff. The 80s was a monstrous time for fashion, but
Jordache was.
Oh Lord, we made some terrible decisions. But we did understand. We were playing with non-binary fashion back then. That was actually a thing that was happening.
Oh yeah,
that was actually
Desire the Endless.
That was actually also pushed by science. A lot of the day glow and some of the colors that you just hadn't seen before,
sharp, wonderful lines,
were because of scientific developments in chemicals and technology and things like that. So basically, someone was like, "Hey, this is really weird orange. Let's put it on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, what a time to be alive."
Hypercolor, man.
Hypercolor.
Live for hypercolor.
It was so bright in the 50s too when Technicolor started becoming a thing.
Right,
you know, because Technicolor basically gave you permission to be loud.
Yeah.
I would say an easy and cheap way to explore different kinds of fashion. I think whether it be just your tidy road stuff or whatever, I'm sure your friends feel the same way, is to organize clothing swaps. We all have stuff that we don't want. Gather it all in the giant garbage bags, glorious garbage bags, meet at someone's backyard and just throw it on the ground and be like, take it.
Talk about going on an adventure with someone when you're just essentially having an opportunity to go play around and win with each other's closets.
This was from a swap. I didn't pay for this.
This
was someone's garbage.
I actually am kind of starting now because my finances are a little bit better than they used to be. I'm still not super rich, but I can afford to buy things without crying anymore.
I feel that.
Been there. But the other thing is, I'm a plus size woman. We had two options. We had Lane Bryant and Dress Barn, and that was it. And if you didn't find it at Lane Bryant, you didn't find it at Dress Barn, fuck it. Like, you had to hope you had an aunt. But especially now, with Torrid, with City Chic, with Target. Target sells. It depends on the Target, but plus size clothing, I can find a bathing suit in a regular store now that fits me and looks good. It was not that way for a really long time, and I think that absolutely informed my sense and or lack there of fashion because I didn't care because it wasn't there for me. It's really hard to get passionate about the way you look when you can't find the thing that you want to look. It's still frustrating. But it's out there now, and especially non-binary.
I'm looking forward to the upcoming generation of non-binary fashion designers.
Yeah. I mean,
we're gonna get some crazy shit.
Yeah,
get some crazy shit.
And
God bless the Scots for kilts, but let's just really push that.
Kind of going off a tangent of that too.
Nice
I've been giving advice for people to read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. It's a little trendy right now, but it is interesting. It's an interesting perspective on possessions, especially clothes and keepsakes and things like that, and it's holding each piece of clothing and does it bring you joy? If it doesn't bring you joy, chuck it. You don't need it. And it's the same thing with gifts.
I love throwing shit away. It's the best.
But it's so hard.
It is hard.
It's hard.
That's what I mean. Chuck it to donate it and
you thank it for its time in your life when you did enjoy it.
Dude, they will come to you. They will come to you. If they won't, then we have a veterans association that will drive to you. there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
or you've got some friends who just make that clothing move around.
Yeah. Or do that clothing swap.
Especially in larger cities, they are always looking for.
Growing up, I had a lot of weird fashion. I wanted to be more fashion when I was way younger, and I grew up in a suburb outside of Pittsburgh, so there's like nothing. So I learned how to sew. I was like, I'm going to force myself to learn how to sew, and I did that. I learned how to make jewelry. You can learn these things, guys. Even if you're older, like I can't sew, just learn how. Especially if you feel like you're really limited by fashion around you, like it's possible to make things. It turns out, like you can make things out of drapes. You can make things out of bed sheets. You can make things out of
with the time,
carpet.
Sound of Music, that shit.
Well, the first time I met you, we made a little.
Yeah, we did crafts.
I still have that.
You guys are so upset at me for making you make
having two places. It's like the one in New York is our place where we're here. It's sort of stuff that people have given me or part of the adventure that we're going on. Now you wanted to talk about flirting. Now, and you said apparently I'm good at it, and I don't understand your position on this.
Okay, so here, like a lot of flirting is almost entirely about confidence.
Well, then why are you looking at me?
I mean, just in terms of being able to. Okay, so one I wanted to talk about flirting and just conversing with people respectfully and effectively, because the two really do go hand in hand. I know a lot of. I think we were talking about like last week we had Gather Your Stand Up and Jackie Cation made the joke. She was amazing. She was amazing, but she made the joke about how these days a lot of guys are scared. Like they're like, oh, I don't know if I know how to flirt. You do. I promise you. Like if you are respectful and you can flirt and not have to worry about things. And she said one thing that was interesting was that
it was a joke that she said, but it was like I think I've said that seriously to people before.
What is that flirting is like an interaction between two or more people, where during the course of that interaction, you have made the other person feel attractive or wanted. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, and because you can do that, and that it doesn't really say anything about intention.
Right.
No, absolutely.
You can flirt without intention. 100%. In fact, a lot of the people who do it the best, who exude confidence, do it without intention, and they do it because it's more about an appreciation that you exist rather than I'm coming at you with motives.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like doing something motivelessly, like without the idea, like getting into somebody's pants or starting anything up, having no expectations, and just engaging with them as a human being.
I'd like to say enjoying people, not what people do for you.
Yes!
But isn't that part of being an adult? Getting to know people and wanting to know their story. I mean, that's what
and also making them feel good. I like making people feel good when I meet them for the first time. That's fine.
There's another interesting thing about this that also applies to business interviews or anything of this nature, where you go into it, and I think we get so caught up in, okay, what do I know about that person? Well, I look at them and I feel funny. Right, so so I want to go in there and I want to see if we can connect, right? And so, a lot of times you're setting yourself up for a little bit of a perilous, potentially treacherous kind of journey because it's all about you and what you potentially want. If you turn it on its end, and whether you're flirting with somebody or whether you're applying to work at a company that you really want to work for, you go in thinking, let me figure out if I like them. Right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, it gets you out of your head as far as like, well, am I good enough? Do I look it up? Whatever. Just be like, okay, I know this about them. Let me go and see what kind of person they are. Maybe they're horrible. Maybe they're, this is an informational thing. I want to get to know what's going on here. And if you put
gathering is great.
No,
I think if you put the focus there.
This is 100% right. I somehow interviewed at Lucasfilm to work on Clone Wars, despite the fact that I'm not an animator, and that's what they were hiring. Because I went into a meet and greet trying to get my other friends who were animators to do it, and they ended up calling me, and I'm like, no, I don't know how to draw. but that's 100% it.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more
very
about
good at talking.
It works for business and not just like personal relationships. There's a great book called Never Split the Difference, learning how to negotiate your life from a hostage negotiator. Like everyone's got their self-help books, right? But he is an amazing way, because you can apply this to a lot of different skill sets as well too. It's like how you do active listening and participating in conversations with confidence will help you, do things like get an interview with Lucas without really having the specs for it.
I was like, you have cows here? Like, what's going on?
On the point of flirting specifically, like for me, one thing that really helped me to just sort of internalize and realize is I do my best to come off really well, obviously, and just be very just sort of open and charming, and just like you said, you sort of openly admire people with no intention and just flow that to them. But one thing that I realized is, because I get in my head very easily, like, did I just fuck this up? Or if I say something stupid or do something dumb, and I'm like, that's the end of that. But you realize, however forgiving you are of that person's foibles, they probably are of yours as well.
Yeah.
And whatever you're willing to put up with in terms of, well, that was a silly thing that she just said, I guarantee she's not noticing any, or he is not noticing any of the weird crap that just came out of your mouth. So just be yourself, be open, like you said, just admire the person, talk to them, get to know them, and more than likely, it's all gonna go just fine.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is I tell this to people. It's a double-edged sword, but people do not care about you as much as you think that they do.
Exactly.
And it is sometimes the most relieving thing.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to give an interview tip that I learned. I'm going to look right down the barrel.
Yeah.
Okay, kids, when you're fresh out of drama school and you're applying for a job and they ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Don't say, well, not here, of course.
Did you do that?
Wow.
I broke down crying.
I didn't get the job because I didn't.
Oh no.
Don't say that. You thought it would be funny when you were a kid. It didn't work. You didn't get the job.
That's how I left Apple. I went in for my year review, and they're like, where do you see yourself at this company in 3 years? And I just burst into tears. I was like, this is my 3 weeks notice. I can't take it anymore. I couldn't take it. I was yelled at.
And they're like, you should be writing television. I'm so sorry.
I learned more about giving an interview when I had to interview, like when I had to interview more
Hiring
than any
is
other time.
terrifying.
And so sometimes if you've never, like if you're in a position where you're like going in for entry level or you're trying to interview into your job, which by the way, for the record, people who have had wonderful stable careers for 10, 20 years, I celebrate you. You're awesome. That does not mean that there is potentially opportunities out there that you can always be looking, you know, because it's, unless you're like, literally, I can change nothing with my life, you can always strive for more. But at the same time, I had to interview all these poor kids, and it's just kind of watching them stumble through it. It was like, okay, well now I know what people are looking at when I'm on the flip side. So even if you do that for your friends, even if you literally have someone test interview, like you interview them for the job that you want, not a bad way.
Dude, if you're still in school,
Role-playing,
if you're still in high school and you have clubs like FFA or FBLA or any of those things, I got a scholarship competing in job interviews. So like, especially when you're young, they're absolutely resources. Like I interviewed for a fake job and it got me $1,000 for college.
Nice.
Like it was just lying. It was fine, which I translated into other. It's absolutely. So like, especially if you're younger and in school, like clubs like that can be kind of cliquey and stuff like that, but they can also be very inclusive and they can help. Like I did things with the FFA that I will never use again. But like I know how to judge a piece of land because it got me $500 for college, you know. but you can have these skills, and especially like YMCA's have great job training things. There's another resource, I can't think of it. Community colleges are great. Yeah. Even if you're not enrolled, sometimes you can audit courses. You can do things like that.
You just wander in.
Like community colleges do not give a fuck. Some of them, you know, like. But you can always audit a course, and they're not that expensive. They're also I don't know in California. In Tennessee, you can get I think it's an associate's degree for free at any age, almost any age. A lot of states with lotteries, that's what they do with their lotteries. So like, check your local resources. And
if you're getting home from whatever job and you find you got 12 hours to burn and you're not doing a lot with it, like feel okay with filling like 4 of those hours up with something that helps better you.
Right, absolutely.
One life skill or class or resource that I would recommend for everybody, no matter what you do, is improv.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I think everybody, almost everybody that works on this channel has taken at least one improv class, and I would recommend it for people even if they're not looking to get into performance, because it just helps you listen better and react to things better.
It's also a safe space to fail.
Yes, you figure it. You're like, I don't care.
You will see so much
failure. You will.
And you will fail spectacularly, and you will understand the depths of embarrassment, and then you realize that there's there is a bottom to that, and you can't go much lower than that, so it's fine.
It's literally like
freeing.
improv. That day one is like going to the gym on day one. It hurts
It's
so
terrible.
bad the next day, but you do it. For like a month or 3 months, you get into it and you're like, oh, I feel a lot better
It's a
about
skill
myself.
like anything else. It's like, you know, you don't get good at basketball by never picking up the ball. Like, you have to go to practice. Go practice improv. It's very,
the more
very good
terrifying that sounds, taking an improv class, the more you need it.
Yeah.
If that sounds like the worst thing in the world to you, go. You have
I mean,
to.
there's like gonna be like an Amy Poehler in there who's gonna be amazing, but it's fine.
Sure, but
but you get a chance to work with it. Yeah.
That's not why you're there. Is
Yeah.
it?
No.
You're there to better yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
One of my professors gave me a piece of advice when studying acting. It was don't play precious with the ideas and make another choice. And he would come out and he would hammer it into us. Like, make another choice, make another choice.
Make strong choices.
Yeah.
That is on like my wall. I have written it down. It says make strong choices.
I mean,
that's actually.
yeah.
Can I sidebar on that real quick? I'm sure we've all got like one like wall art quote.
Yeah.
all got in there.
Oh, I love Taliesin's is my favorite.
I actually don't know. Yo, my God! Of course you know my wall quote.
This is the best, and I want one of those.
Does anyone have one they want to share? Because
I want to hear Taliesin.
I already said.
So the first thing I see every morning, besides a beautiful piece of It's a Small World art, is a tiny bird, is a painting of a tiny bird wearing a crown. And the tiny bird is saying, I'm the best, I'm the king of me, I'm going to eat chips out of the garbage. And it's true.
It's how I live my life.
That's so good.
That's fantastic.
Chat was actually bringing up.
You
how
can
great,
Google that image, it'll probably come up.
D&D is.
Oh,
D&D is
D&D.
basically improv.
D&D is so healthy for you.
D&D's home improv for
Yeah.
sure.
That's the thing, and
Forever.
is it'll make you better at games. It'll make you better at just talking to other people.
Yeah.
Like for sure, it helps the flirt game.
Oh yeah.
Because you learn to listen to the person and just respond to them.
And I want to. There's a couple things that rolled through chat that I want to quickly address. Flirting is not necessarily a romantic gesture.
No.
So flirting, when done appropriately, means, I mean, like you talked about, is you've made the other person feel attractive or better. And sometimes it's not even. It's not physical. It's just. You can walk out of a room with someone going, that was the most interesting person I've ever met. And what did they say? It says, I don't know. They asked like 4 questions about me, and I talked the entire time. And you won! Well done.
You did it.
No, I do kind of consider myself a flirt, but like I have no interest in any of that.
Terrible
Really,
flirt,
like 1 in 4 humans. I feel like if they're okay. That was a weird statistic they're up. If I'm at a party, I make it a goal to speak to 1 in 4 people there. That's like sometimes it's a conscious thing, sometimes it's an unconscious thing, because there are always interesting things for that people do, and not just in LA. Like it's everywhere. Like everyone has something that they enjoy, even if it's like weird TV. Like they might know a whole lot about reality TV. That's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool. It's their passion, and they know a lot of crazy stories about crazy people.
No,
you know,
I would say
like,
this about flirting is that it's okay if you aren't good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I suffer from incredible social anxiety where if I don't know a certain ratio of people versus people I don't know, I suddenly I'll be having a great conversation with a new person. This is fine. 5 minutes later, I have to go home and I can't tell when I'm leaving, and I ghost.
Talking about ghosting.
And that's how I adult. I
That's
can't
fine.
deal with my
It's
stuff.
called the French goodbye.
But-
Yeah, I
I thought it was Irish goodbye.
Yeah.
Irish goodbye.
Well, that's what I've heard.
But it's good
it's
to
an Irish
recognize
exit.
that and act
Yeah.
on that too, because so many times I know people that
Figure out your
if you-
comfort level.
Yeah, if you have social anxiety, you feel like, oh no, I need to stick through this because I'm
No
pretty
one's
sure.
going to know you didn't.
And there's also just
Yeah.
the point of where it's like, again, flirting should never come with anything other than just.
We should maybe call it conversation.
Flirting really has
It-
this
it- it-
sexual
it-
stigma
it-
around
it does and it
Yeah,
shouldn't,
is.
because it's one of those things where I'm like, you should be able to interact and charm somebody without
And that's
them. Yeah,
kind of the secret, though, is that flirting is just good conversation where
Yes.
people happen to be interested in each other, and that's why I brought it up. And you're like, I don't think I'm good at that. The thing about you is that when you talk to somebody, you make them feel listened to and interesting,
Absolutely, yeah.
and you make them feel valid as a person, and that's very important. And that translates well into
there-
flirting if you want it to.
And there are people out in the world who have social anxiety, who are natural introverts, who do not get energy from those exchange, and that's okay. and that's okay. It just means that these kind of tips and tricks are more challenging, but they will still better you.
But you can work on it. I used to be so bad that I couldn't. I would go to a party if I didn't know the person. I'd be like, I would just hide behind my friends, like not. I was like so shy and like. I've lived here for a couple of years. Now I can talk to strangers sometimes.
I try and remember. I try and remember.
But you're working on it. That's the other part. It's like you're pushing.
I'm bettering myself.
Well, it's no matter what your first impression of somebody is, and that first impression can be anywhere off the board. I try so hard to remember that they know a lot about something I don't know anything about, inevitably, and it is my job to learn what that is and learn something about it, or they have something to teach me that I have to learn.
Yes. Yeah.
And
that's.
Oh, sorry.
Look, dude,
when I had first moved here, part of the LA thing is going to events and networking and meeting with people or whatever. Yeah. I hated it. And I like partying and I like being around people, but going with like this networking thing in mind.
I need to meet the right
people. But that's
people.
the thing, is that for me, networking is just so easy because I genuinely want to get to know people.
That's the trick.
And that's when it happens, is to think of it as just having conversations, good conversations with people. And also because like you don't want to work with or network with people that you do not get along with anyway. So it is like an audition for them as well.
I have a trick with that. I stopped bringing my business cards to anywhere where I went. I just I got rid of them, and figured that if this person wanted to get a hold of me, they'd ask for my information, or I would ask for theirs. Yeah. But you'd have to do it with a pen and paper, or like now.
For me, it's Twitter.
Facebook.
For me, it's
but it would be one of those it's like I'm not gonna do the we're just gonna we're gonna have small talk and see if we enjoy our small talk.
On a table at a
no, I actually have an unpopular opinion about this. Because there are certain, and again, it's very specific to certain industries. There are some industries in which a business card is vital.
That's what I was gonna say.
There is. I have been to many conventions in which the whole point is to get as many contacts in order to reach out for impressions or whatever. And the human brain can only retain so much information over the course of 3 days. So
because not only are you giving out business cards, you're getting business cards, and I know at least for me in a business sense, I'm like
festive. Sorry,
I'm like decompressing with all of the business cards and following up on things, and I need that physical. Yeah,
and I have an Excel. I have a Google Doc Excel that has the list of the business cards I have on each one, and each tab at the bottom is every event that I attend.
Right, that's good.
So I dump them all in, and so when I when I do a search into it, I'm like, God, I mean, I know I met with that person from Hero Forge. What is their name?
There's some really good business card ideas coming up in chat.
But that's the joy is that especially if you're out there soliciting and you need to hit a lot of people, which when you're in the crucible, of trying to find out where your place is. I remember my crucible as I went to a film festival in Las Vegas. I was 17 years old. I knew one person. And I went into that situation being like, God damn it, I'm going to at least know one person that's worth this trip before I get out of here. Man. And it was fine.
You did it, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I said, and you did it.
Oh, well, he did okay. But I was going to, we had grand, strange plans for tonight in case, much like every Gather Party, we planned for 5 things.
We have so many activities that we plan.
Nothing happens.
We never get around to them because all the conversations
and a bunch of things were supposed to happen. Maybe a couple will that I want to touch on a couple good, wonderful tips. I mean, I used to cook. I don't cook anymore because I now have roommates and and they sort of have whenever I get in the kitchen they get nervous. But I was trying to figure out what would be a good beginner's cookbook and I came up with an interesting idea. I'm like, what did you have?
No, I'm just interested.
I found a nerdy cookbook and I'm very proud of it.
Kitchen Overlord?
Not Kitchen Overlord. Did you know World of Warcraft put out a cookbook?
Yes, I did. We had several Thanksgivings that were World of Warcraft themes. We followed the recipes of the book.
Those recipes are so well designed for beginner cookers.
They're not bad. They're hard.
They start with they actually teach you how to make the individual things you need to cook. It's much like cooking.
Slaughter your enemy. Put him in pot.
But they
eat bloody heart.
They build skill trees into a
All right, we're down that tip. There we go.
Good night, everybody.
But I got my Hannibal cookbook because I was feeling really good.
That's appetizing.
To serve man, it's great. And we were going to talk about grooming, because I also know that I'm running into a lot of people. I knew kids my age when I say kids when I lived in a house with 11 roommates because L.A. I had, I'm not going to out him because he might be in chat, who didn't know that you don't put velvet in a washing machine. It was like, that was a great shirt.
I learned it the hard way once.
That was my velvet shirt.
God! He was trying.
He was trying, bless him. And so, like, and like, there are little things. Like, one of the things I got really into cologne and perfume was a big thing for me. I have a huge collection now because I'm really into it and I enjoy it. And one of the things that always bothered me is like getting into an elevator and being like, oh God.
Too much. Too much.
I'm allergic to everything. It's the worst.
Yeah, I'm also allergic to fragrance. So,
I
like very natural
because I'm usually super subtle about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that first of all, a bottle of cologne is deceptive. Like one bottle will probably last you your entire life.
Oh yeah.
There's no need to do it. It is not shampoo.
No.
You know, but the idea
is body spray, please God.
It's to the degree of which I wish, and there's a reason why when cologne first came into the world, it came into eyedroppers and not sprays. Is because literally drop, rub, and then what you do is and that should be like 15 to 20 minutes before you go out.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
That's
what I do.
My friend who introduced me to this wonderful world of smelling, of like having people walk up to you and like, is that no one should smell you until they are like close enough to touch you.
Yes.
Is like
what I always heard is that you want them to get closer
Yes.
to be able to smell you.
Yeah.
and it is so nice when someone's like, oh, that's so nice. And you're like,
Yeah.
The
It's like,
Napoleon's
what
wax,
is
the
that?
violets?
Yeah, because if I can smell you from here, then there's also a radius of
Right.
other people who can do the same thing. So you know, the intimate circle is where you want the cologne.
choosing how you smell is wonderful. I would recommend it. It is. When I was
choice.
well, I mean, like when I was young, I would just get rose oil, but like that's too much for. I mean, like I can't even do that anymore. It's just. But and I've collected a whole bunch of.
My girlfriend considers herself extremely clever, so she always gets me the cleverest colognes. Thankfully, they all smell good, but the names
Like
she usually
pun
buys them on
names?
names.
Oh, okay. Like gun and metal.
Like Sure Fuck.
Like Sure Fuck?
Yeah, Sure Fuck.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Black Panther.
That's the last one she bought me. So.
So for those of you who don't know,
Fist.
is that smell? It was when you're buying a smell. There are three things. There is a base note, a mid note, and a high note.
Oh boy, here we go.
Wow.
Base notes tend to.
To the apothecary.
Yeah, no.
Whiskey.
It's a lot like whiskey, it's one of those things. And then once you have it on, it's going to change the way it smells because it's going to interact with what the oil that you're creating, and so it'll change a bit. And like, especially if you're like going for more masculine scents, there's stuff that the base notes are like rubber or dirt or wood. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh no, it's but like.
I have to say, with grooming, the way that grooming is gendered is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, like, just the idea of having to have like men's versions of things that are like, and like smelling good and makeup and skincare is like something that everybody should care about. Yeah.
And like all the stuff I use is all gender neutral because I'm like I'm that person.
Yeah.
That, like,
and also, if something says that it's for women or for men, and you like it, who cares? Just use it.
Unless it interacts directly with your reproductive organs.
Here's a white lavender
like
to
there's
take a
the
smell.
flow chart, you know, of like you know.
Like if it's, and even then, like people use tampons to plug
I like
bullet
regular
wounds.
lavender. I can wear that. That's about it. But
Wasn't there a
that's a
booze
lavender-
that recently put out a female version? Was it like
Doritos
did a female.
The lady chip, yeah.
Someone
Was
in
it?
chat,
Was that a
someone in
joke?
chat
No,
put
that
it
was not a joke.
extremely
Oh, I
well.
really hoped it was a joke.
It's the pink tax. For
Oh,
like
the
women,
pink tax,
you know,
yeah.
it's like calling it the pink tax.
So and like one of the things I love about
Genderize
this
it.
particular, and like a lot of people who make smells will actually like create conversations about.
Oh, I like this
she's
one.
one. I was like, no, Erica.
Yeah, those are essentially like
Not a
scent
shot.
mood cards,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I was looking at those beforehand, and I figured I was like, are these mood cards for scent? Because they kind of look like.
I'm that guy.
Wait, no, I just. I thought these still they don't.
I was gonna
Thought
try
you would.
too, so it's okay.
Also, Ginger in the chat, like, don't worry, like, don't feel ashamed to like, I want to feel feminine today. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Regardless of your gender, or like, you can be as girly as you want. You can be as I
will admit on so many occasions that after doing Rocky Horror and playing Frankenfurter for a long time, like after doing the show, there would be just some weeks in which I would just leave the fishnets on all day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like I'd have the pants on and just keep the fishnets on, just because they're so
I have a very nice house dress.
Yeah.
Like,
What's that?
I have a very nice house dress. It's just like sort of like big flowy skirt that I just wore. Like
someone got me back in the King of the Nerds years. Someone got me a kitchen apron with me as a zombie on a Segway, and I love that. And sometimes that's just comfy enough to be the only thing. So,
you know, the piece of adulting advice that I would give my younger self is to like find what makes you happy and comfortable and helps you thrive and just lean into it. And that's true about gender, about fashion, about like,
and it can change.
Yeah, and everything. And that's the thing is always be okay to like change your identity, because like, you know, the idea of like the shaving my head and stuff was like terrifying, because I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna get the roles that I want, or you know, this is gonna change me completely, and no, it was more of who I was. So find what
your tastes absolutely do change. Like there was a time where like the idea of buying a dress was just like, why would I buy a dress? I don't go anywhere. But I found a purple dress with flowers on it. Like, that's just so not what I'm normally into. But I can do a high kick in it because it's huge. It's the best. And I found out, like, it changed. Like, oh, I do kind of want to wear a dress sometimes. You know, or, you know, my hair. Like, I dye my hair now. I just never...
Whose parents told them that this was going to like cripple their ability to get work? By the way,
me. My mom still asks me if I'm going to dye my hair back black.
Like, I mean, even though my mother has tattoos in unmentionable zones. You know,
showing up at a conservative church with this hair was a fun time. It's like, oh, that's the California one. I'm like, dude, the lady at CVS has the same color hair. It's fine.
Same reaction.
So what have we learned as adults?
Do what makes you happy. Like Erica says.
You never stop learning.
Yeah. Never stop stopping.
Empathy is key.
Empathy,
live life with good intentions, not good expectations.
Be kind to yourself, I would say. Yeah. People are so hard on themselves, and it's good to be ambitious and to want to do things, but you gotta be nice to yourself and take care of yourself.
Take risks.
Make time for you also.
And there's a ton of moving parts. There's always so many moving parts. There are all these sort of like pearls of wisdom that get dropped. Your ability to sort of integrate that into your master perspective view of the world is what's going to give you direction. Like there's no one simple solution. At the moment, it may seem particularly insightful. You're like, oh, great. But everything is always about taking everything into account. And like, you know what I mean?
Intent with kindness is almost always, just try to be like what you... The first do no harm. Like I keep coming back to that, but it keeps being the same thing. Is like if what you're doing isn't hurting anyone and it's bringing you joy and it isn't, you know, it doesn't cause anyone pain and it makes you happy.
Yeah.
That's great. But the other side of that is, if you are being treated poorly and you do need to make that cut with someone, you know, do it. Like, you don't have to stay in a place just because society or your mother or your friends say that you have to. You have,
kids. It's fine.
You have to, sometimes part of getting out of that comfort zone is getting out of a place that is safe but dangerous in a weird way.
And it's scary. It's intense. I mean, I actually just realized, like, for me, I had this really specific milestone very recently, as I just, 2 days ago, moved into an apartment, 1 bedroom, by myself for the first time in my life.
Oh.
Before that, it was always roommates or girlfriends or whatever. Like, and the idea of doing that was terrifying on the face. Like, not even just financially, but also, I've never been alone before. I've literally never been alone for any like measurable period of time, and it was a whole new thought at, you know, whatever age. Is like that's a new thing now. So.
Trying new things.
Yeah,
that's really important.
I would say that, you know, to get something you've never had, whether it be a job or a certain way you want to look or a thing you want to do in your life, you have to try to do things you've never done before.
Yeah.
You can't get to where you want to go by just doing the same thing every day that you've been doing that's not getting you there.
I've found through a life of a complicated life that has had ups and downs that I've found a lot of pleasure, and most of those pleasures have been mind-bendingly simple. And if there's anything that like being an adult is just knowing how to find tiny little things that just make me unbelievably happy.
It's not about what you're posting on your Instagram feed. It's about what you're posting in your heart.
Oh, your heart feed.
Stop it! The other things I would say is like so I heard really good Tumblr advice was when you hear something, the first thing you think is the thing that you're conditioned to think. The second thing that you think is the thing you choose to think.
That could be good for forgiving yourself too. When you have something that's that's a bizarre thought.
I was raised in Tennessee, which I mean even today still has a lot of, social issues to overcome. But like, I wasn't necessarily taught it, but I definitely lived in an environment where it was very hard to be accepting of persons of color, of persons of other faiths, of persons who didn't have a clearly defined gender. But like, my business loans were from an immigrant, a person of mixed race. My workshop is at I rent from a Jewish guy. A transgendered woman first gave me the first tools to start my business that I have now. So like stepping outside of those comfort zones and accepting people for who they are only makes your life better. And it definitely makes their life better because they're getting acceptance. But pushing against those things that people are telling you are wrong because it makes them uncomfortable. I mean, there are things that are wrong. Let's not do that. Like, don't kill people. But like, but if you're, So like,
maybe what you're saying is being an adult.
Yeah.
Is being kind, respecting others, and respecting yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you want to take out a small business, if you are currently working in a 9-to-5 job, then go get a sole proprietorship and start writing off your life, everybody. Because that's the way to do it now with the new tax law.
And
there's no way of being
taxes quarterly.
Pay your taxes quarterly.
Or go to South America and teach clowning to kids.
And teach clowning.
Yeah, it's one of those two.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Guys,
I don't know if I learned anything.
Guys, it's been this was both the night I was hoping for and completely off what I was expecting.
Yeah, no, this is exactly what I thought would happen.
Thank you for joining us. This is our TED Talk.
Next week, we're going to literally be taking the exact opposite.
For Gather Your Kindergarten. We're going to do like finger painting and nap time and juice boxes. We're going to eat paste.
We're going to eat paste.
Oh, it's going to be glorious.
There's going to be some fun stuff.
It will be a different crew.
Can I drop off turn right
It's going to be a hard turn.
Oh. Oh, man, we didn't even cover childcare and stuff. Anyway,
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
They're easier to keep alive than you think.
This was a really lovely evening because I think everybody sort of not only was able to give advice, but to sort of examine how they learned everything. It was a lot of introspection tonight.
I learned a lot tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so thank you all to everybody here for being lovely. Thanks to the mods and and thank you to all of our guests who are so wise and interesting and colorful. I'm serious. Thank you. Anything else you want?
Mostly we have to go because it's late and you have places to be tomorrow because you're responsible.
I do. Oh, I'm gonna be hosting for Vainglory's Twitch channel this weekend if you want to catch me there. But all right, everybody, thank you so much. We will see you next week.
We love you all.
Grow up.